Imagine waking up in a city where everything, absolutely everything, is controlled by intelligence systems. But before you think that's amazing, consider this: would you really trust your life to a machine? This is the controversy dominating the world today. We are building cities increasingly dependent on AI, automation, and sensors. But are we creating protection or vulnerability? Now think about this. What if the city of 2100 is not just advanced, but forced to be advanced because the planet simply no longer offers the conditions for us to survive the old way? In a world with lethal heat waves, unmatched storms, and pollution levels never seen before, technology becomes the only shield between us and collapse. But here's the question no one likes to answer. What if that shield fails? The metropolises of the future are built on smart infrastructures capable of adjusting energy, water, transportation, and even oxygen in real time. Smart, yes, but also terrifying. What happens when a single failure in one of these systems puts millions at risk? When a blackout isn't just an inconvenience, but an existential threat? And more, what will it be like to live in a place where every step, breath, and movement is monitored to ensure your safety? Is that protection or total surveillance? The city of 2100 promises comfort, resilience, and efficiency, but also raises deep questions about freedom, dependence, and survival. Ready to see how humanity really survives this future? Just continue if you're prepared to face the dark side of progress. Behind every street, every building, and every drop of water that reaches you, there is something no one sees: the smart infrastructure, the true brain of the cities of 2100. And here's the question that scares experts around the world: what happens when this intelligence becomes more essential to human survival than the ecosystem itself? These cities no longer function like the ones today. Their buildings breathe, automatically adjust temperature, seal windows against storms, and capture water from the air. Autonomous electric grids decide where to send energy before a neighborhood even realizes it needs power. But think with me, if everyone depends on this system, what happens when it's threatened by extreme weather? The record heat of 2094 cities to create cooling corridors, urban areas that reduce temperatures by up to 12 degrees. But what if a heat wave surpasses all previously recorded limits? How far can technology compensate for a collapsing planet? Additionally, sensors map floods, track air quality, and predict structural failures within seconds. But there's a question no one wants to ask: are we protected by this network, or trapped in it? If these systems collapse during a solar storm, a cyber attack, or an extreme weather event, the city stops being a technological refuge and turns into a futuristic trap. Smart infrastructure is what keeps us alive. But it's also a constant reminder that, in 2100, the greatest threat may not come from nature, but from the dependence we created. If there is something that defines survival in the cities of 2100, it's energy. And here's the question that puts governments on high alert: how do we power entire megacities when the planet no longer guarantees climatic stability? In the future, you won't see poles, wires, or power plants like today. Energy comes from intelligent hybrid networks, a mix of ultra-concentrated solar power, vertical turbines that work even in weak winds, ultra-safe modular nuclear reactors, and giant urban batteries hidden underground. Sounds perfect, but there's a problem no one can ignore. What if all of it fails at the same time? The energy dependence of futuristic cities is so extreme that even small imbalances can trigger chaos. Imagine a 52 degrees Celsius heat wave hitting tens of millions of people as demand explodes. What happens if the urban batteries start failing? What happens when the entire city needs air conditioning to survive, not for comfort? Many cities in 2100 rely on urban shades, massive suspended structures that reduce direct heat. But here's the dilemma: these megashades only work if there's enough energy to run their climate systems. In other words, the shield that protects the population is also what can put it at risk. And what if a solar storm hits the miniature's nuclear reactors? What if a flood destroys the underground batteries? That would make the city collapse in a matter of hours. The fight for survival in 2100 isn't just against the climate, it's against the fragility of the energy that sustains every second of our futuristic life. If there's something no one can live without, and almost no one notices, it's air. And in the cities of 2100, breathing becomes a silent luxury. Extreme pollution, combined with chemical storms drifting in from abandoned industrial regions, creates a daily battle most people don't even know they're fighting. The solution: futuristic cities start functioning like living organisms. Skyscrapers absorb carbon dioxide with photosynthetic skin, vertical parks filter microparticles, and atmospheric drones monitor air quality in real time. Sounds incredible, but an inevitable question arises: is this really enough to keep billions of people breathing? The problem is that the climate of 2100 does not follow rules. Unpredictable winds can carry toxic clouds to densely populated areas. Artificial urban ecosystems require constant maintenance. And if a failure appears, it spreads like a virus. Imagine the entire city depending on giant purification towers capable of cleaning the air of entire neighborhoods, and now imagine one collapsing during an extreme heat wave. Who can survive when the air itself becomes an enemy? Even advanced technologies, like synthetic air produced from clean chemical reactions, require massive amounts of energy. What happens if the energy system fails just when the atmosphere becomes most toxic? These megacities of the future breathe. But what if one day they stop breathing? For days, the strange interference kept returning. Not regularly, not predictably, but always when he was alone. At first, it sounded like nothing more than broken static, the kind that crackles when the air is too cold or when an old radio finally gives up. But then something changed. The static began to repeat ... not randomly, not naturally, but rhythmically, as if following a pattern. He recorded it, slowed it down, isolated every frequency, and that's when he realized it. This wasn't noise, it was a message. Hidden inside the distortion was a sequence, a pulse. A structure no electrical malfunction should ever produce. He played it again, and again, each time the same overwhelming truth settled in. This signal wasn't coming from Earth. It wasn't reflected, amplified, or distorted by weather. It was transmitted. Deliberately, intentionally, directed at him. And embedded within the pulse, barely noticeable, was something even more disturbing: coordinates. Coordinates that pointed to the exact stretch of empty road where he had seen the light. The place where everything started ... the place he swore he would never return to. Because whatever sent that message, whatever pulsed through the static, whatever waited at those coordinates, knew he had heard it, and now it wanted him back. He didn't want to go back. Every instinct told him to stay away. But something about those coordinates, the precision, the timing, the intention behind the signal, it felt less like a threat and more like a summons. So on a cold, windless night, he drove toward the edge of town. Past the streetlights, past the last houses, past the point where the pavement stops feeling familiar. The road grew darker, quieter, heavier, as if the world itself knew what had happened there. When he finally reached the exact coordinates, he stopped the car. Everything was silent. No wind, no insects ... no distant engines. Just the kind of silence that presses against your skin. Thick, unnatural, like the air is holding its breath. He stepped out of the car. The flashlight trembled in his hand, but the beam revealed nothing ... no signs, no markings, no evidence that anything extraordinary had ever happened on that lonely strip of road. But then, the temperature dropped. Not gradually, violently. A wave of cold hit him, so fast it felt like stepping into freezing water ... His breath crystallized in front of him. The beam of his flashlight dimmed, like the darkness itself was swallowing it. Then he heard it, a low, impossible hum, vibrating through the ground beneath his feet. The same frequency from the static, the same pulse hidden in the message. He wasn't alone. Something was waking up. Right where the light had touched the earth. And whatever it was, it had been waiting.